This is episode number 498 of the Health and Fitness Podcast by InnerFight, brought to you in association with Smith Street Paleo. Hop over to smithstreetpaleo.com, get involved in all of the yummy food that's going on over there. So guys, if you're looking still for a big goal for 2019, then I might have something for you here. We've teamed up with Ultra X to give you a special rate on the races that these guys are organizing this year. They organize 250k 5-day races. It's a race series which are held in exotic and inspiring locations around the world, and they actually culminate with a biannual World Championships. It's super awesome, and I can vouch for this, that taking on a multi-day ultra in a far-flung corner of the earth is probably one of the greatest experiences that you can have. And now that Ultra X are making these experiences more accessible for all, it's definitely something that you should be considering for 2019. In this year, they have races in Sri Lanka, Jordan, Mexico, and they'll be adding 2 races to the series each year, with Bolivia and the Azores getting released in the summer of 2019. So if that really does sound like something that you are interested in, we have a discount code which will get you £200 off the races. You can hop over, have a look, ultra-x.co. The Sri Lanka race is the first race, which is on the 13th of April. You get £200 off using our code INNERFSL19. Go and check it out. Get involved. I'm looking forward to racing some of their races this year, and hopefully we'll see some of you guys there. Welcome back to another edition of the Health and Fitness Podcast, folks. Yes, this is it. The Open is nearly here, and I'm going to speak to you for the next 40 minutes about the Open, why you should get involved, what is it, when it started, all of the information. Andre is still in South Africa. He did an awesome job at the weekend. If you haven't been following him, he placed 6th in the Fittest in Cape Town competition, which we'll speak about a little bit more. I'll speak about a little bit more. It's one of the sanctional events. That's a great effort from him. It is the first sanctional that he's been to, and he was actually leading that event for quite a while. Be interested to get him back in next week and discuss a little bit what happened, where he did well, where he didn't do well, but he is not here today, so I'm going to, and all the other coaches have ditched me as well. Matt Jones has gone somewhere on holiday. He was going to come in and chat about the Open, but you've got me for the next 40 minutes to discuss the Open and all things Open related. So let's kick off with what the Open really is and where it started. I think that's one of the most important things. It actually kicked off in 2011. That was the first year that we had the Open, and it's a qualifying process to get to the CrossFit Games. Now, before, what we used to have is we used to have what was called sectionals, and actually in the older days of CrossFit, when the sectionals were first around, anyone could really rock up at these events called sectionals. They were hosted all around the world in different countries, and if you did well at a sectionals event, you would then get a place to the CrossFit Games. You'd go to the CrossFit Games and you'd compete. As obviously CrossFit started to grow, the way that CrossFit recruited people to get involved in the CrossFit Games, or was in search of the best athletes, the system changed. And we saw that change in 2011. Now, something that's actually quite cool, and what we should understand, it's part of the process, or the end part of the process, is the CrossFit Games. CrossFit Games has been going since way before that. I should really have it in the notes, but I think it was about 2006 or a little bit before that, the CrossFit Games actually started, which was a lot different to what it is today. You can hop over to, I think over on Netflix, definitely over on YouTube, you get the really old days of the CrossFit Games. And if you wind back to episode number 300, we interviewed Jason Kalipa, who actually won the CrossFit Games when it was held in Aromas at the ranch. A lot different feel to what it is today. So that's where all of this qualification, the Open, is going to get people a place in the CrossFit Games. Now, obviously, pre-2011, when there were a lot less people competing in CrossFit, it was a lot easier to have these sectionals and to get people to qualify that way. As CrossFit started to grow, 2010 into 2011, and I'll speak a little bit in a minute about the growth of the Open, the process to get people to the games changed slightly. And it's changed again recently. We spoke about it in a few previous shows, but what it used to be from 2011 until present, until 2018 when the changes were announced, is that you would do the Open. through the Open, you would qualify for a regional competition. So the world was split into various zones, and you would compete in your own gym in the Open. You would have to have your workout either recorded or verified by a qualified judge, and you would then submit your scores, leaderboard would go up, and the top 20 or 30 people from your region would be chosen to represent or to compete at a regionals event. Now, for the Middle East, we were initially involved in the Asia Regional, which took basically everyone from us all the way to the Far East, and that was the regional that we competed in. So if you did well in the Open, you would then go to the Asia Regionals. For Asia, because it was a slightly smaller demographic of people actually participating in CrossFit, there was always one place available for people to go to the CrossFit Games. So the winner of the Asia Regional would then go to the CrossFit Games. So that was the route to get there. The winner of the male, the winner of the female, and the winning team would actually take that route to get to the CrossFit Games. And these regions were set up all around the world. You'd also have it in America, where America was split obviously a lot more regions, European regional, there was an Australian regional, and so on. Now, later, after the CrossFit Games in 2018, that process was changed. It was a very interesting time and a very interesting way that CrossFit actually communicated or failed to communicate the changes. They actually communicated their new CrossFit Games season through a online from a blog site, really, Morning Chalk Up, which is quite interesting. If you are interested in CrossFit, which I presume you are because you're listening to the show, hop over to Morning Chalk Up. You can subscribe to their mailing list as well, and they send out a mail of what's going on in the world of CrossFit pretty much on a daily basis. So CrossFit communicated through Morning Chalk Up about these new changes, that they would be doing away with these regional events. So you would now have just the Open, and then they introduced something called Sanctionals, which is what Andre was at last weekend, and we've seen in Dubai CrossFit Championships, that was also a Sanctional, and people have a different route to get to the CrossFit Games. CrossFit claimed that these regional events were actually costing them a lot of money. There was one stat that came out that to host the regional events in South America cost CrossFit over $1 million, and basically no one went to the competition. So it was a big investment to get all the equipment there, despite the fact that actually people are paying to enter the Open and people are paying to go to regionals. CrossFit said that they were losing money, so they were going to do away with regionals. Now what's happened is sanctionals have come in, and people, anyone in the world, you or I, could actually start a sanctioned event so long as we follow the rules of CrossFit, and of course, you guessed it, paid the fee. The fee has been bounded around somewhere between $50,000 to $100,000 to host one of these events. So now CrossFit is making money from their own, essentially the same thing, a regional style event, but it's just called a sanctional, and there's a lot more going on around the world. I think there's about 16 in the world at the moment that run through the calendar year. So the point there is, and you can argue if that was a good thing that CrossFit did or a bad thing that CrossFit did, but the point is that they've removed the option or the passage to the games, or the use of the tool of regionals, and you now have to participate in the Open, or you don't actually have to do the Open if you've won a sanctional event. So what we're getting at here is that we're still looking to get people to qualify for the CrossFit Games, which happens in the States. It now happens in Wisconsin. I think it's still there this year in about August time, where they still crown the fittest male, female, and team on earth, and have various age categories as well. Some of the age categories have been taken away. They had a lot of different age categories, and some of them have been narrowed down as well. But the first step for a lot of people to get to the games is the Open. One of the greatest things that the Open has done since 2011 is it's allowed anyone who's anyone in a gym anywhere in the world, or even in their own garage gym, to actually do competition workouts and measure up against people around the world. There's a weekly leaderboard which then updates by the second week and gives you the results by all of these different filters as well. So you can go how you've done weekly, how you are overall. You can compare yourselves to a teacher that lives in Dubai, or a teacher that lives in the UAE or the Middle East, and there's all of these different filters on it. So people, which I think this is a good point to hit out with, it gives people quite a lot of motivation to get involved, because we're motivated a lot by other people for right or for wrong, and measuring up in a competition against other people. So what the Open has done successfully has given us that opportunity to measure ourselves against others no matter what level we're on. So if I'm a 40-year-old male living in Dubai, I can now go, Dubai, 40-year-old male, how do I stack up against those other males in my in that category, which is something that's quite interesting. And some people, as I say, for right or for wrong, are motivated by that. And I think if that is your motivation, then at least you have a motivation. It's not really the right motivation for everyone, but it definitely works quite well for a number of people. And that's been in place since 2011. So that part of the Open and that part of the competitiveness of the Open is going to remain. In 2011, there was actually 6 weeks of workouts, and it's a very unique way, or it was a very unique way. It's become more commonplace now, but what happens and what will continue to happen this year in the Open is that a workout will be announced probably on a Thursday evening. You will then have till about Monday or Tuesday of the following week to submit your score. So 4 or 5 days to do the workout and to submit your score. You can, if you do the workout obviously on the first day, you could then rest a couple of days and redo the workout if you were not happy with your score. We'll talk about redos later on in the show and what my opinion on redos are. But it gives you that opportunity, but not really a lot of time, because if you go super hard on the first day, especially if it's a hard workout, and all of these workouts are hard with the intensity that you're going to put into them, then you're going to be pretty sore for a few days. So they're workouts as well that nobody knows what they are until they're announced on the Thursday. In America, normally it's Friday morning here in Dubai. So Thursday evening in America, Friday morning here in Dubai. So it's very difficult to prepare specifically for the workouts. Now, what we do, obviously, in a lot of our class programming as well, is we know the common movements that have come up. We've been doing this since 2011, so we've seen typical Open workouts. A lot of the Open workouts have been repeated, or some of the better ones have been repeated, but there's not a finite number of movements, but we pretty much know that things like toes to bar, double unders, wall balls, there's going to be some box jumps in there, there's going to be some barbell work in there, so people can practice those and get better, but at the same time, that is quite a big, broad spectrum of movements that people are having to use and are having to train. However, we do know, as I said, what the movements are. We don't know what order they'll come up in. We don't know if it'll be a 7-minute AMRAP. And although CrossFit have repeated some of the workouts, they've pretty much, I think only each year, without having a full analysis of it, I think they've only ever repeated one workout a year. So if there's 5 workouts, 4 of them are going to be brand new. As I said, in 2011, there was actually 6 weeks of workouts. Since 2011, for the last 7 years or so, there's been only 5 weeks of workouts, which is a lot better. It's a little bit more condensed, which is cool. A lot of actual qualifiers for CrossFit competitions are only 3 workouts. Some are actually only 2 workouts. So you've still got 5 opportunities to prove yourself. What you're going to see within these workouts is a lot of variation as well. So there'll be dumbbells in there. Actually, one Open, I think it was 3 years ago, there were no barbells at all. There were only dumbbells. But you're going to see various time domains. You're going to see various movements put together. So maybe some gymnastics movements with a barbell movement, and then the next workout could be a rowing with some dumbbells, for example. So it's a really nice broad spectrum of movements over the 5 weeks to really, and I believe that the Open is a great testing area for people's fitness. It's 5 weeks of workouts. The time domain could go anywhere. I think one of the shortest workouts, and this is why it would have been good to have Matt Jones here, was a 5-minute AMRAP of squat clean thrusters, or squat clean to overhead. It didn't actually have to be a thruster. And that's what you did for the 5 minutes. We've then seen workouts that are like 20-minute AMRAPs. We've seen workouts that have A and B parts, so we'd see a little bit of conditioning, then moving into a max lift. So we see a really good broad spectrum of workouts. So they get released on a Thursday night, and you've got 4 or 5 days. Then your score gets submitted, and it's closed. The workout is then closed. You can't redo it again. Your score is your score. And then what follows is is a few days of sort of leaderboard scrolling where we're waiting for people's scores to go in. We're waiting for gyms to verify their scores, because if you've done a workout at a particular gym, the affiliate manager then needs to actually verify your score. So sometimes that takes a couple of days, and by about the Wednesday, all verification is done and we know how people have stacked up for that particular week. Obviously, as the weeks go through, those scoreboards get a little bit more interesting. You can kind of see the guys that have worked a lot on their strength, maybe those that have worked a bit more on their conditioning, and we start to see how things are going to pan out and who is going to take the top spots for the Open. One of the most fantastic things is that the Open, since day one, has been very cheap to enter. It's about $5 or $10, and it's open to absolutely everyone. In the first few years, it was a little bit tough for some people because some of the movements that we saw and some of the barbells, for example, that squat clean to overhead that I spoke about there, that 5-minute workout was in 2011. It was like a 75 kilo barbell, which just some people that are doing CrossFit might not be able to squat clean 75 kilos. So what we saw introduced 3 years ago now was a scaled version of the Open as well. The experience is exactly the same, and this is something that's super cool. You get the same experience, you get a very similar workout but a scaled down version, and when you go to enter your scores online, you just put in that you're doing the scaled version, and then you go onto a scaled leaderboard. So if we go back to the example I was using earlier, you now go by your filter, you'll be scaled male, 40 years old, school teacher, or whatever your job is, if you put that in, and then you can see how you stack up against those people in your category. So again, by demographic, by age, by gender, and by your employment type, you can see how you compare. So that's very cool, and it's made it a lot more all-inclusive, really. And that's why I really want to encourage people, whoever you are, whatever your goals are, wherever you think you're at with your goals, you probably should be getting involved in the Open this year. Definitely, if you come to our gym, you should definitely do it. Some people are not that keen on that whole leaderboard thing, and I get that. I think that's absolutely fine, and I don't want to push everyone to jump onto the leaderboard and to be refreshing it every 5 seconds. But for some people, it is a really good motivation. So it's something that I definitely suggest people do. You may want to take the option of doing the Open but not entering your score, not putting it on a leaderboard. I think that's absolutely fine as well. If you're just happy to come to the gym, and I'm going to explain later when we're going to do the workouts, but if you're happy to come to the gym, you want to do the workouts, you want to enjoy the atmosphere, the community feel, and you want to push yourself, but you really don't care about paying your $5 or $10, and you really don't care about your name being on the leaderboard, then I think that's something that you should do as well. You should just get involved. So that's a little bit of a background on the Open. Now, what happens next for people that do super well in the Open? This year, the top 20 in the world from the Open, so if you place in the top 20 in the world during the Open, male or female, you will automatically be invited to the 2019 CrossFit Games. So you almost get an auto, well, not auto because you've worked pretty hard for it, but if you're in the top 20, you get invited. So that's one way to get to the games. Another way to get to the games is that you win the Open for your country. So we had Boz on a few weeks ago. She's from Belgium. If she's the top Belgian female, so she would put her nationality into the profile as Belgium, even though she's working out here. She represents Belgium. And if after the Open, she's the top Belgian female worldwide, or top Belgian female, if they can compete anywhere in the world, she will then also be invited to the CrossFit Games. So there's two ways through the Open that people can get to the CrossFit Games. If you're not in the top 20 and you're not one of the top people in the world, then to all intents and purposes, as they would say, your CrossFit Games season is over, unless you go to one of the sanctional events that are coming up. Sanctional events that we've spoken about on the show is the Dubai CrossFit Championships, which happened in December. We had the Fittest in Cape Town last weekend that Andre was in, placing 6th, as I said there. We also saw, the weekend before that, we saw the Australian sanctional took place, where actually Sam Briggs, who won the Dubai event, also won that, which is very cool. And there are a number of these sanctional events going on throughout the year. So if you are not in the top 20 in the Open, maybe you're 21st or maybe you're 22nd and you do not win your country in the Open, but you still think you have a chance to go to the games, then these sanctional events are a way to get there. You could, I believe you could, like, for example, Sam Briggs has now won 2 competitions, so she's definitely got a ticket to the games. She probably doesn't have to do the Open if she... Well, I don't think she has to do the Open. If she didn't want to, it's up to her. She's already got to the games. She doesn't need to do the Open. So that's kind of at the top level how it all works out. Let's go through some questions that people often ask, and I've actually heard bounded around this year as well, and then I'm going to explain how it's going to work down here in a fight and how people can get involved. So one of the most frequent questions that we actually get asked at the start of every year is, should I do the Open, RX, or Scaled? And the answer to this is you should really refer to where you're at in our zones of progression. So all of our zones of progression for Black Zone is all what we'd consider RX weights. So, for example, if you do Grace 30 clean and jerks at 60 kilos or 40 kilos, and you can do it in a time of around 3 minutes, then you're in a good position to do the RX for the Open. If Grace at 60 kilos takes you 10 minutes, you can know that the world record for Grace is like 1 minute 20. So if it takes you 10 minutes, then you're probably not really competing in that area. Some people say, well, I can lift the weights, so why shouldn't I do it anyway? And you know what? If you want to lift those weights, and if you want to maybe in that AMRAP only get 1 round because the barbell's so heavy, then I think that's great. And if that makes you happy, then go ahead and enter in RX. The only thing to be aware of is that some of the movements in the RX might be quite challenging for some people. So you would want to make sure that you can do things like bar muscle ups, ring muscle ups, strict handstand push-ups, normal handstand push-ups. You'd also want to make sure that if you go to our zones of progression for Black, that you can tick off most of the barbell weights there as well. You can clean and jerk 60 kilos multiple times for reps. You can snatch 60 kilos multiple times for reps. So if you want to, otherwise what might happen is in the first workout, you might rock up and it might be 10 bar muscle ups to start, and then you can't do the workout and you can't enjoy it, and you won't quite get the right stimulus. So some people will be on the fence, like there's a lot of things they can't do, and some things might actually just completely take them down and not make it an enjoyable experience for them. So therefore you would move to the scaled option. The scaled option is for absolutely everyone. It doesn't even demand, sometimes it's demanded that you do a pull-up, but a lot of the time it's been a jumping pull-up. The weights are massively scaled back as well, which make it a really interesting and fun process because people can get involved. They can do the same workout as next to someone like Andre or Carmen who are doing the RX and can again feed off the atmosphere. If you're in doubt of what you should do, whether you should do RX or scaled, speak to one of the coaches, but don't go to fight them. If you've decided that you want to do your RX and you're happy that if bar muscle ups come up, you know that you can't do them, but you're happy to try during that workout and you're happy to try and get some, maybe your first one during that workout, we're super happy for you, but don't then come later on and say, oh, the Open workouts didn't make me tired or didn't challenge me. So what I'm saying here is just set out your goals and how you measure your success in the right way, and then decide what RX or scale, whether you should do the Open, RX, or scale. That's something that's super important. One of the things that you can do is you could start the Open RX and then you could drop down to scaled. It really depends sort of what the first workout is, and you can make that decision when the first workout comes out. Just be aware that if you start the Open RX and then you go to scaled, all of your scores will go into the scaled category. So you might have done the first workout and you got through it RX, but you only got 2 rounds, whereas all the guys in scale got like 8 to 10 rounds. So you won't be very prominent on the leaderboard because your 2 rounds will count for you during that workout. No matter how you do in the rest of it, all of your workouts will count as scaled. So that's something to think about. Again, if you are motivated by the leaderboard, if you do care about the leaderboard, some of you, I said it before, you no need to enter. You might just want to come down and do the workouts, and I fully support that. I think that's great as well. And one week you might be able to do RX, the next week you might be able to do scaled, and hopefully you'll have a really good time in the process as well. So that's really my advice on should I do the Open RX or scaled. The second question that we get a lot is, what happens if I do the workout on a Saturday? That's when we're going to do it here. I'll give more details on that in a second. What happens if I do the workout on a Saturday and I'm not really happy with my score? Can I redo it? Now, a lot of people will think that they can do a lot better, and then we'll ask them, like, why didn't you do better? And they said, because I rested too much. I'll then ask people, well, why did you rest that much? And the answer normally is, or definitely is, they rested that much because they're absolutely smoked. So although you'll watch your video back or you'll watch some Instagram and stuff and think, I was resting a lot, if I cut that rest down, I'd go a lot faster. You're resting most of the time because you're absolutely smoked. So I don't think redos are a great idea unless you're going to the games or unless you're trying to qualify to get to the games and CrossFit really is your life, like Andre and Boz, and you could have just screwed up the workout a little bit. You know, if you're just doing it for fun, especially if you're doing it scaled, it's cool. Just come in, do it on a Saturday, and just get on with life. I don't think we need to get too stressed out about any redos for anyone else. When does the Open start? That's something that's super important. I said it before. I think it starts on the 21st of Feb, which is a Thursday. That's when that workout's going to get released. We will do the workouts here at InnerFight every Saturday from 10 a.m. There'll be judges here to judge you. The atmosphere will be super awesome. People will come down and we can go head-to-heads. If there's someone that you've been working with, against, or just want to rip their face off from the class, then we can do that we'll do that on a Saturday. Normally we wrap things up by about 1 o'clock. We will not do the workouts during classes because we're doing it on a Saturday and it just doesn't work logistically to have it during the class. So if you want to get involved in the workouts, if you want to do the workouts, you need to free up your schedule on a Saturday from 10 till 1. You need to be a good dude. You need to come down. You need to realize that it's not the Olympics. We're all just having fun. But when it's go time, you need to smash yourself. So it's a great atmosphere and it's a whole load of fun. And it will start the first workout on Saturday, the 23rd of February. So that's when you need to block your diary for the 5 weeks. If you're traveling during that time, I would try and book into a gym wherever you're traveling if you want to make sure you get all of the workouts done. And gyms are actually super open to it. They'll tell you, I've done this before when I've been traveling. They said, yeah, come down at this time. This is when we're hosting it for everyone. And you just get down and you get involved in their community and their vibe as well. And it's actually super cool fun. So if you are traveling during a weekend and you really, really need to do the workout and you just can't get to another gym, but then you're going to be back in time on a Monday, let one of the coaches know and they might be able to help you. Might is a very important part of that, because we just can't have people coming in and we need judges the whole time as well, and all the coaches are obviously super busy coaching people, so there's a little bit of logistics to take care of. But if you do have some circumstances, just be a good dude to us, or if you're listening from somewhere else in the world, be good to your gym staff as well, and they should take care of you. One of the questions that we do get a lot is what I just brushed over there, like, will the workouts be in class? We will not put them in class because it's not fair for the people that actually do the Open on a Saturday to then have to redo that Open workout on a Sunday. Back in the day when not many people did the Open workouts, we actually did used to put them in the class, but now what would we do with people on a Sunday morning or on a Monday morning? So we've done away with that, so they will not be in a class. So if you want to do the Open, if you want to do the Open workouts, you need to be here Saturday mornings from the 23rd from 10 until 1. That covers the next question as well, which someone put in. What if I miss the workouts? Just be super nice to one of the coaches, please, and I'm sure we can make something work for you. There's two more really interesting points that I want to talk over for the next 5-10 minutes of the show. Is how should I train during the Open? I think this is one thing that we're constantly talking to people about, like, what's the right mix? Should you be going to Track Tuesday? Should you be doing weightlifting? Should you be doing gymnastics? You know, how many times should I train? What days off should I have? We spoke to Andre. He loves 3 on, 1 off, 2 on, 1 off. We spoke to Carmen. She doesn't have days off. She has like active recovery days, which is a lot of zone 2 stuff. What I think you guys should do is just see how you feel. Some of the Open workouts, will be incredibly taxing on various parts of your body. If it's a really aggressive thruster workout, your legs are going to be smoked. Like you could be seeing yourself do like 45, 60 really fast thrusters in a workout in a very short period of time, which if you've done that before, you'll know the next day your legs are absolutely destroyed. So you'd want to take a little bit of time off after that. Maybe the next day, sometimes maybe even the following day. So if your legs are still not good on the Monday, maybe jump into the gymnastics class where it's a lot more, there's not going to be much focus on your legs. The same thing, you might have a you might have an open workout on Saturday, which is very intense in pull-ups. You've shredded your hands completely, and in the program on Sunday morning, we have toes to bar. That might be a good day to have your rest day. You probably wouldn't want to jump into the gymnastics on Monday either, because you need to get your hands time to repair. So there is no real way that you should train during the open. There's no real hard and fast way that we can say you should do it like this or you should do it like that, because we don't know the workouts that are coming up. So it's very difficult for us to say, yeah, you should always take the Sunday off. Some of the workouts you might not feel tax you, like a 1 rep max might not tax you massively, so you might be good to train the next day. So it goes back to a lot of what we say, that you have to just sort of check in on how your body's feeling, how you're feeling, where you're sore, are your hands ripped, are your legs absolutely smoked. If you're ticking some of those boxes and you look at the class workout for a Sunday morning or even for a Monday, you might need to skip it. You might need to take a day off. Another thing that we'd encourage you to do is coming into that Saturday, definitely take Friday as a rest day. That should be pretty much a standard. I would definitely take Friday off or do something quite light on a Friday. You don't want to be going all in on Friday because, again, you'll probably be sore on a Saturday. You could then go back 2 days, and on a Thursday, I have to make sure Matt maybe dials down a little bit Thursday therapy, or maybe just doesn't. You might want to just be a little bit picky about the Thursday workouts that you get involved in as well. Again, when we program Thursday workout, we do not know what the open workout is yet for that week. So it might happen, or go back and I'll use thrusters again, that there might be a lot of thrusters in the Thursday workout, and then in the open workout on a Saturday, you also have a lot of thrusters to do, and your legs might not be recovered in time for it. So you kind of do have to be a little bit careful. I think it goes pretty much the same as what I was saying about just coming in, chill out, enjoy it, in that you should just take that attitude. You should make sure you can train through the open well, and you should realize that this is something that's just good fun. It's a good community event that we're running every Saturday morning, and if your legs are a bit sore from last week, well, hopefully next week's workout you'll be a little bit better at than you were this week. And that's why it's not the leaderboard's fantastic, but please don't get too hung up on it. At the end of the day, this is not paying your bills, so just stay cool about everything. So that's really what I think how people should be training through the open. We'll have a bit more chat as we come close to the open of how Andre and Boz will train at pretty much the top level. Remember, they have a lot more flexibility in their training as well, and the way that they do things. Another question that we get asked is okay, I'm super keen for the open. What can I do now in the next few weeks to be ready for the open? And this is actually you can do a lot. So it's super important, what I'm going to say in the next few minutes, that you just think about where you're at and then pick up the bits of advice that I dish up and figure out what you're going to do in the coming weeks. So movements like a pull-up, toes to bar, there's definitely going to be box jumps. There's definitely going to be wall balls in there. You can go to games.crossfit.com. You can see all of the movements since 2011. You can see all of the open workouts, and you can see which movements come up the most often. What I generally do in these situations is I say to myself, right, what can I do now in this short time that we've got for the biggest win? So you might look at it and you might see, in that year there was a 1 rep max squat clean. Well, you could spend the next 3 or 4 weeks leading into the open working on your squat clean and trying to get it as big as possible, and you might put on 1 or 2 kilos at a cost of all of your other training. That's not going to make a huge difference. What is going to make difference is the big wins. It's efficiency on things like wall balls. It's efficiency on things like box jumps. It's maybe brushing up your toes to bar or your pull-up technique. So what I would be doing is I'd be thinking to myself, right, where can I get the most bang for my buck? My toes to bar are almost there. I definitely don't want to miss the gymnastics class for the next few weeks because I know they're always going to be involved in that. Or maybe I'll chat to Andre about some help. What can I do? What small program can I follow just to dial in my toes to bar? So I think that's really what people should do to be ready. It doesn't mean that you have to go to every single class. You need to double up. You need to train more than you've ever trained before. You know, we still see people doing like way too much training the whole time. I've seen people go from the track into a class into strongman, so you train like 3 or 4 hours that day. I mean, geez, you know, your body's completely smashed, and then you rock up the next day for weightlifting because you know weightlifting is going to come in the open as well. So it's not that you have to train more than ever before. You just have to be a little bit smart, and you have to know your progression in things where you're going to get, as I said, the most bang for your buck and for the time that you spend in it. But I would definitely be looking at, you know, if you feel that you've missed snatch for the last few weeks because it was programmed on a day you weren't there, come and speak to the coaches, ask the coaches when snatch is next going to be in weightlifting, book into that class, and then you can brush up the technique on your snatch. Same with those gymnastics movements. The other movements are perhaps the more common ones, like skipping. It's easy to come in and practice your skipping. Come in 10, 15 minutes before class. If you've nearly got your double unders, that's another thing that definitely is going to be in the RX. Scaled will probably be single skips, but in RX, you're going to have to do double unders. So if you're almost there, if you spent 5 minutes before every class for the next few weeks, I can guarantee your double unders, your efficiency in your double unders or your ability to do them would also go through the roof. Similar things, as I said there, box jumps, they've come up a lot. What's your efficiency like on your box jumps? Just get a hold of a coach and just ask them, like, can you show me how to be a little bit more efficient on this? And then pick some move. There's going to be some movements that you might see have come up quite a lot. Like, a lot of people don't like wall balls, but wall ball comes up pretty much every year. So again, it's something that's super simple to practice. You just come in, you grab a wall ball, you can come here upstairs, you can throw it against that target and just get a little bit better and a little bit more confident in your wall balls. These are the simple things that I would definitely be doing, because in the next 4 or 5 weeks, or the next 4 weeks, you're not going to be getting massively stronger, but you can get a little bit more efficient at things. Also, things that are interesting, and a stat that came out, for example, on snatch, like snatch barbell efficiency has been a movement that's been tested the most. And what I mean by that is that for the amount of time that CrossFit have spent testing 1 rep maxes of snatch, they've tested, it's been very small, but they've done a lot of testing of how fast you can move a super light barbell. One of the workouts that was at regionals a few years ago, and we've seen it a lot in the open, is like for guys in the RX division, a 30 to 35 kilo barbell, pretty light for these guys that can snatch like 130, 140 kilos, but just asking them to cycle the reps and putting it in a workout. So that's something, it's not all about how strong you are, but it's about how efficient you are in those movements. So that's something that I would really be, if you're planning the open this year, which I hope you all are, and if you're a little bit more serious than just rocking up and getting the workouts done, like you want to think now what you can do to be ready. Hop over to games.crossfit.com, look at all the movements, look at what's come up. You've got since 2011, so you've got plenty of years of data to analyze or movements to analyze and say, okay, I can get some pretty quick improvements in that. And if you're not sure which ones you can get quick improvements in, come and ask the coaches. But I can guarantee you things like toes to bar, things like pull-ups, box jumps, wall balls, double unders, barbell cycling, there's rowing in there quite often. These are the kind of movements you're going to want to be a little bit more efficient at. So that's what you can do now to be ready for it. Hop into some of those specialty classes if that's the movements you need. Stay away from those specialty classes if you're super proficient at toes to bar, but you just feel that you're a little bit unfit. But definitely you don't need to pound absolutely everything, because in the next few weeks you'll just tire yourself out. So where do we go from here? What do you guys need to do? What do you need to know? If you're going to register for the Open, just get it done. Go online, go over to games.crossfit.com, register. You just put your details in there if it's the first time. Otherwise, your profile will be there from last year. Register under InnerFight, InnerFight CrossFit DXB is the affiliate that you need to register so that we can verify your score. That's something that's super important. You need to link your account to InnerFight, and then I can see your score on our dashboard every week, and I can verify it. We'll be verifying the scores probably on a Sunday, so even if you put it in directly on a Saturday morning, we still need to go in and we need to click yes and verify it. The verification process will be done based on your score sheet. So when you come to the gym on a Saturday morning, you'll get your score sheet. You'll get half of the score sheet. We'll keep the other half, and then we can go through and we can check that the score that's gone in is the right score. That's something that's super important, that we are aligned on the score. So the chit that gets ripped off that you'll sign, just make sure it's the same as what's above and make sure the numbers are very clear. So you've registered. Then you just need to prepare your training and work on those things that I spoke about there of what you do now to be ready. 10 o'clock every Saturday. You don't need to register to come down to those Saturdays. We're going to be here from 10 till 12. We're going to start at 10. If it's a longer workout, it'll obviously take a bit longer. If it's a short workout, we might be done by 11:30. So don't rock up at 12 and expect us to be here. We might already be at the beach. Those are the things that you should be thinking about, folks, if you're thinking about this year's Open. We massively encourage people to go and register. If you don't want to register, that's fine. Just let us know that you're coming down on a Saturday, and we'd be super happy to accommodate you. Everyone will be judged, and we ask that anyone who has the ability to judge, which just means you have to count and know the movement standards, also helps out. That makes things a lot easier for us, and it allows us to give you guys a great experience. In my experience, the Open is something that's super awesome. I did the first Open in 2011 and went on that year and for a few years after to regionals. It's a great time. It can be a little bit stressful if you are trying to qualify to regionals, or this year if you're trying to qualify directly to the games. The regional qualification is obviously something that has now gone, but as I've seen it over the last sort of 4 or 5 years here at the gym, it's just something that's a great few weeks of competition. It's a great atmosphere, and it helps people to, it definitely gives a lot of motivation for people to hone in on their training over the coming weeks. That's why we're doing this show now. And also post the Open, it gives people maybe an appetite to go out to a few local CrossFit competitions, or tells them, exposes where they need to work as well. So I think it's something that everyone should get involved in. We're super pumped about it. We'll be holding it, as I said, down here at the gym every Saturday. And if you can't make it and you really do have a valid excuse, then let us know. Otherwise, if it's just the fact that you are lazy and you are hungover on a Saturday morning, then we're not really that interested. And please, 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 please understand that it's not life or death. It's something to have a good time over and a lot of good fun with a lot of cool people. That has been episode number 498, all about the Open. Wow, 40 minutes of me talking about the Open. I've had enough. I need a drink of water. Hope you guys have had enough. Your ears probably need a rest. But thank you for listening. If you do have any questions about the Open, about the 2019 Open, please drop us an email, winning@innerfight.com. We'd be more than happy to help you out. Until next time, take care.